to talk about what's going on the ground in Iran. I am neither Iranian nor Persian. I am not a political scientist nor a journalist. I don't have a degree in foreign affairs, and I'm not even on social media anymore, so I couldn't even pretend to be an expert. There are plenty of people who can tell you more about Iran, about the horrible images that they have seen, about the potential political policies of military intervention which may or may not occur in the coming days. There are folks who can tell you more about how we got to this historic uprising in the last few weeks, which as of tonight is being called smothered. So all I can tell you about tonight on Shabbat are the things I do know about. And one of those things is our Torah, and the other thing is about the life of my friend, Mr. Farid. Farid is my barber. He is handsome and charming and stylish with an excellent head of hair and an easy, welcoming manner. Born in Iran, he is now a proud Canadian, and he runs a fine little barbershop on Bay Street. If you ask me, because you need a new barber, I'll tell you exactly where. And previously, I told you a little bit about him, about how on my first trip back to his shop after October 7th, he rebroke the ice by grabbing me and hugging me and giving me an espresso and saying, "Oh, this regime is crazy, man. They and Hamas, they've got to go." And Farid, he would know, because he has lived abroad now for nearly 2 decades, never once returning home to Iran for fear of what might happen to him or his family. In a worst-case scenario, he would just disappear. There's no charge, there's no crime, but it doesn't matter. The Iranian regime, like all regimes which come to power and hold on to power through terror, do not need a reason to detain him. He could be too bohemian, he could have been away from Iran for far too long, or someone he grew up with might have said something to the wrong person one day 20 years ago, and now there's a blacklist somewhere with his name on it. Or perhaps he could go back and nothing would happen, and he would come home to Canada again. Inside of his community of Iranian expats, it is terrifying because they know both versions of this story. In the 3 years that I've been his customer, I have not once made it through a haircut without hearing on his 2 favorite subjects. The first, world travel. He works 11 months of the year so that he can travel the globe for 1. Recently he said, "Do you think I would enjoy Tel Aviv?" One of his other clients is getting married this coming summer, and Mr. Farid was very proud to tell me he had been invited to the, quote, "big Israel-style Tel Aviv wedding on the beach." And I told him, I will write you a letter to help you get in for all the good that it will do. And the second is his dismay, is his frustration, is his rage, is his exhaustion with the Iranian regime. "I want to go home," he says. "I want to see my parents. I want to see my nephews and my nieces who I've never met. I want to eat a home-cooked meal and see my parents." On a recent visit right before the holidays, I saw him and he was downcast because he'd heard from his mother and his father that one of his, quote, uncles had died. And it made him realize that the window was closing, that he may never have the chance to ever again see his home or the people who made that place his home. To see his family, Farid will buy his aging parents plane tickets to meet him in Istanbul, which is a somewhat safe middle ground. It's kosher enough for the Iranian regime that they won't target his family, but it's safe enough for him as a Canadian. But as of earlier today, when I spoke with Farid, he has not been in contact with anyone in his family, any one of his friends for over a week, since the Iranian regime cut all access to the internet and disrupted every landline in the country. The protests are in each of the Iranian provinces, and therefore the violent crackdown from the IRGC is too. He is furious, heartbroken, worried about his family and his friends, and also stunned and dismayed. The end of the regime, which just a few days ago seemed so close, has just slipped away again. And no one is coming to help. It brought my thoughts to our own story, to our Torah, to this moment in our Parsha, where we are in the scroll at our moment, a moment of emancipation, a moment of revolution against a tyrannical nation. And we read of a mighty hand and an outstretched arm of a power greater than our own, which saves and delivers. One of the great theological statements of our Jewish faith, one we reach each year at Pesach in the Haggadah, is, Avadim chayinu lifaro b'Mitzrayim. We were slaves, our ancestors slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. Vatzianu Adonai Eloheinu misham biyad chazaka uvizro netuya. And God sent us out with a strong hand, a mighty arm. Ve'ilu lo hotzia hakadosh baruch hu. And if God had not done this at avotenu, to our ancestors, mimitzrayim, hare anu uvonenu uvenei vanenu meuvadim hayinu liparo b'Mitzrayim. We would still, our children, ourselves, our children's children, to this very day, still be slaves, had we not been freed. And further, on that subject of freedom, speaks the prophet Ezekiel and the rabbis in our Midrash as they quote Pharaoh saying, "The Nile is mine. I made it myself." And our rabbis argue that when Pharaoh claims this false divinity, that he has the right to rule because he is the maker, that self-righteousness is the birthplace of human tyranny. It is from this idea that human beings decide some of us are divine and some of us, therefore, are disposable. Some of us deserve to rule and some of us deserve to be enslaved. And Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch argues that it is this lie. And Rabbi Hirsch goes one step further. He says this blasphemy, that is what God battles in our Parsha this week. In our story, a tyrant claims to be a divine instrument, and that compels moral outrage. A man claims to be the instrument of the divine, and that is what causes moral outrage. As Jews, we are inheritors of an ancient legacy of survival against all odds and of a redemption story that transcends time and space. And it can be easy with our beautiful story to forget that not every tyrant is brought low. That plagues, the kind of plagues that are instruments of divine will, are not easy to find. And that it is rare indeed for a brutal, tyrannical nation to fall only because its people yearn to be free. Miracles are precious and rare. But we hope. But still we hope and still we pray, because as strange as it may sound to hope and pray for Iran, the Persians have been some of our dearest neighbors for thousands of years. Our people have had a long and often generous history in Iran. Since the days of the Babylonian exile to the days of Cyrus the Great, our people accomplished great things, which include arguably the greatest scholastic accomplishment inside of Rabbinic Judaism, the Babylonian Talmud. Persian Jewry has a rich history, vibrant traditions that predate the very idea of Sephardic and Ashkenazic. Theirs is a Judaism which survived Hellenization, survived forced conversion to Islam, and even survived a Mongol invasion, all while flip-flopping between being some of the most beloved members of society and victims of its most brutal hatred. And yet, despite every obstacle, the Jews of Tehran remained one of the greatest Jewish communities throughout all of antiquity and into the 20th century. Even the founding of the State of Israel in 1948, which, unlike in many other Middle Eastern nations combined with the Farhud, was a cause for mass migration, did not end the feeling for nearly 100,000 Persian Jews that Iran was home. 100,000 Persian Jews stayed in Iran until 1979 and the rise of the Islamic Republic. And perhaps this is why you see so many Jews of all stripes this week holding Persian flags. Perhaps that's why you see so many Israelis posting photos of themselves and sending online messages of solidarity. Because at this time in our tradition, as we read of our own redemption, as we remember our own freedom, we yearn for that gift to be given to one of the other peoples of the world that has known us the longest. I asked my friend Fareed, what do you want me to share? What do you want me to say to my people? Do you have a message for them, something you wish they would know? And this is what he told me. Thank you. I just need them to pray for the people of Iran, to pray for my family, and to pray that we get rid of this nightmare. Tonight, let us do as Fareed has asked. We pray for the good people of Iran. God keep them safe in the coming days. May they know freedom. May they know the end of their own Pharaoh in their own Mitzrayim. And may we all, once again, know peace. Shabbat Shalom. We begin the conclusion of our tefillah together this evening, page 1.